Hi, I'm Magnus. I made this small studio. I have it in my office to take pictures of small items.
For the sides you can use virtually any type of sheet goods, and I happen to have some 12mm OSB on hand. That's roughly ½ inch, and it worked great for this kind of application. I made a mark 10 cm or 4 inch from one of the short ends, and then the same from one of the long sides. In the corner I wanted a radius to form a soft bend to the back of my studio background. Instead of using a compass, I made a loop and a string. Together with an awl and a sharpie, it's easy to make any size circles. I then used my track saw to split the sheet into 2 pieces that would make up the sides of the photo studio. And this way I get both of the sides from one sheet. By using double-sided tape, I can stick the 2 sides together and cut the shape on both pieces at once. It's also beneficial to do them at the same time if you are a bit off. Then the 2 pieces are at least the same shape. I fixed them together, making sure that the marked corner and the 2 sides were aligned, and then used the track saw to cut them to the same length. I also used the track saw to cut the straight parts, making sure to stop well before the curved part started. To cut the radius, I used my jigsaw. When the sides were cut and I was happy with the shape, it was time to start with the cross braces. For this I used a piece of 45 by 120mm construction lumber, which corresponds to a 2x5. I cut a couple of pieces to length on my miter saw, and then ripped them into several pieces on my table saw. The length of the cross braces are determined by the width of the final photo studio, and I was going to use the full width of a sheet of hardboard or masonite. These are 120 cm, and my sides are 12mm a piece, which made my braces to be 117.6 cm, and in imperial that would correspond to a 4-foot sheet minus the sides of ½ inch each, and the cross braces would then be 3 foot 11 inches. I used some long clamps together with some cross braces to hold everything in place while I started attaching the cross braces with 2 screws on each end. Because I was screwing into end grain and rather thin material, I had to pre-drill before adding the screws. Now this was starting to get a bit big, so I had to flip it around a couple of times. I clamped the structure to my workbench. I also added some temporary stop blocks at the front edge. To attach the skin, I used construction adhesive on all the cross members and then added the sheet of hardboard. After aligning the front end and the sides, I used a staple gun to fix it in place. This will not be visible in the images anyway. I pushed the board into the shape and continuously added more staples along the sides. Then it was time for some paint, and I started with some white primer, which I rolled on with a fine texture paint roller. When the primer was dry, I added some white top coat with the same fine texture paint roller. Photo time! I couldn't be more pleased with the outcome. It makes it very easy to take really nice product photos with almost no work later on in the computer.